gosh, man, it has been a long month. I love October. It's my favorite month of the year. But I have just put myself through a gauntlet of horror movies. I've watched horror movies every spare moment. Other than I did a little bit of a True Detective binge, season 1. I know, very, very out of the Halloween spirit.
For the first time? I mean, I don't know. It's kind of got some horror elements.
Sort of, yeah. Definitely not for the first time.
No, I've seen that like 3 times.
Yeah, this was like my 3rd time watching it. It's excellent as always.
Never got through the 2nd season. The 3rd season's okay, but not nearly as memorable as the 1st.
No, there's one scene I can think of that's pretty badass. The shootout scene.
I've literally forgotten everything about the 3rd season.
No spoilers, but there's a sweet shootout scene.
Nice.
But the horror, so much horror that my brain just feels saturated with horror.
Excellent.
Yeah, deeply into it. I'm looking forward to getting back into the kind of like everything goes flows of
watch whatever movie we want.
Yeah, exactly. Bingo.
Should we tell them what we're planning on doing next week, or
we should?
Dune.
We're gonna do Dune, the new Dune. Available with HBO if you have it, or in theaters.
I just watched it. I liked it. So, you know. Yeah. It only covers the first half of the first book.
Well, sooner or later, we're going to do David Lynch's Dune as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's on the docket. I love me some Kyle MacLachlan.
No movie I want to do, Apocalypse Now. I just rewatched that for the millionth time, and
I'm into it. I mean,
that's pretty far out.
Put it on the docket. Oh, it's very far out. Maybe super trippy.
Love that movie.
Yeah, it's a good one. Classic. But anyways, this week, we have,
this week's movie.
Yeah, our offering to you, the listeners, this week is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. By the way, we're really bad about this, but I'm Braden. That's Andrew.
Oh yeah, if you like,
this is Far Out Flicks.
Hey, yeah, I guess. I just assume if you're listening, you're probably not new, but maybe you are new, and that's great. We want new listeners. So, howdy. I'm
welcome,
Andrew.
Welcome to the world of flicking,
yeah. Flick the bean, man.
So, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. In my opinion, and I know we just had this discussion, but I think it's one of the greatest horror movies ever made, for sure.
I appreciate it. I appreciate its significance. It's not like my all-time favorite, though. I don't know. Maybe Leatherface just doesn't do it for me as much.
It does what it does just very well. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it does. 100%.
And it was, in some regards, the first one to, before it, there was Psycho, I believe, Last House on the Left. There were a few others that had kind of, there was already a trend where the monsters were becoming more and more human and more realistic. And I think with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I mean, shit, every time I'm in a really rural area, I think about that movie. As horrible as that is.
Sure, I've seen plenty of houses on rural highways that could like very, very easily be the family's house. But
absolutely.
What I think he was trying to get at, dear listeners, is this movie is more or less like the original modern horror slasher.
Basically, I mean, it predates Jason, the Halloween movies, Freddy Krueger, all of that. Probably directly influenced by this in at least some way.
They all definitely pull a lot of inspiration from it. Another trope that this movie solidified, although it's far from the only one to do it, but certainly one of the earlier ones is like the last girl or final girl trope. Without getting too far into the plot already. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it before we keep talking about it, probably. That's, my personal recommendation. Or you can listen and see if it'll entice you. But, like, really, this is this movie's been out for almost 50 years. You know, like
Exactly.
I hope I'm not really.
I don't think we're
spoiling.
going to be spoiling anything, but you never know.
Yeah, you should listen if you haven't, unless you don't mind spoilers. And then I mean, as you were.
Another trope that was kind of established by this film is the giant kind of masked killer carrying some kind of weird weapon.
Sure. Some like find it in the garage weapon, or in the home, which I think is like an important thing to note. So you've got Jason with his machete. Like freaking 9 out of 10 sheds in America have some kind of machete-like thing in it.
Sure.
A chainsaw, also often found in a shed.
I know he did last summer. He has got like some kind of like fishing hooks or something.
That's like a little bit further out there. Yeah.
True.
I was going to say Michael Myers' kitchen knife.
Yeah.
Obviously found in a kitchen. So there's like a trend of like the horror, or like part of the horror originating from something like found within the home.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
And this, actually, the inspiration to give Leatherface a chainsaw came to Tobe Hooper, who was the guy who made this movie. He had this inspiration when he was in a busy hardware store and fantasizing about a way to get through the crowd. So that's kind of fun.
That is, I mean, that's deeply twisted, but yeah.
Just standing there daydreaming about cutting through everyone with a chainsaw.
That's he's a free thinker, man. He does not let his mind stay shackled by society's idea of normal.
Exactly, man. And then also this film was inspired by Ed Gein. I know you probably know a lot about Ed Gein, but he's kind of classified as a serial killer, but he was this guy who in the 1950s in Wisconsin who was mainly digging up newly dead women and cutting off their body parts, and I believe he had a nipple belt, a memory vest.
Yeah.
Fun stuff like that.
Among many things. Yeah, I think
that comes into play in the movie.
He like killed his mother, right? But like everybody else is kind of like, was he just a weird dude collecting bodies, or was he actually killing more people? Was he a true serial killer? I've heard that he's mischaracterized as that.
I believe he did actually kill like 2 or 3 women, but most of them he was just digging up, and he was into oversized women because he could, they had more skin to work with as he's like knitting together his little outfits, making his masks. He had masks of their face, I believe 9 different women's face masks.
So yeah, Ed Gein was the inspiration for this, simultaneously Psycho, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, and Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs, which, just like little segment, the oversized women thing, that was something that Buffalo Bill sought in his victims. Was he like the larger girl because he could, make his suit out of them. Also, sorry if I just spoiled Silence of the Lambs again.
Again, get out of the rock you're hiding under if you haven't seen that.
God, I'm just like so paranoid about spoiling things for people. I don't know. You should watch that movie too if you haven't seen it.
It's a good one.
It is.
For sure. So, there's some inspiration there. The character of Leatherface has some, there's some homage there. But let's get into the movie.
Sure. So, the film opens with a really disgusting looking corpse thing.
It's an armadillo, right?
The one that's on the tombstone?
Oh, no, that's not what I was thinking of.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
The beginning?
Yes.
It's like the radio's playing.
Which actually kind of reminded me of like True Detective reminded me of that a little bit. Like the weird pagan like antler statues and shit.
Yeah. So yeah, there's this corpse. It's like all gooey looking. Looks like a partially liquefied human that's been like arranged on top of this tombstone. Kind of like makes me think of like a totem pole.
Yeah, weird ritual. Yeah, basically a totem.
Which, as far as pretty metal things go, like a totem of corpses is pretty metal.
It's pretty metal.
It's pretty metal.
This movie's good for that. Like, they've got a lot of weird little artsy like things cut in that just add to the creepiness overall.
Yeah, so that's in the graveyard where our protagonist's grandfather is buried.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the film opens up with a bunch of teenagers in a van. We quickly find out that Sally, who's kind of the main character, and her brother Franklin, who is in a wheelchair, they are going to try to visit their grandfather's old property where they grew up, and they have brought their friends along, and it is in rural Texas.
Yeah.
And they haven't been there in a very long time.
Yeah, they stopped by the gravesite of the grandfather to investigate reports of vandalism and grave robbing, which is, instanced with the aforementioned corpse totem.
Yes.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the film, they say, this is based on a true story, and it sounds very real, but loosely inspired by Ed Gein, basically.
Yeah, it was the original marketing ploy for like horror, or it was the first time that was used, where it's like based on a true story.
I mean, the first time I watched it, I was pretty much believing it at that point. I mean, I was pretty young.
I didn't see this until high school. I watched a lot of other horror movies. I didn't catch this one. In fact, I'm pretty sure I saw the remake before the original.
I feel like the original is just so much better than any other ones.
Agreed.
So they're all in this van. Kind of typical hippie road trip thing going on. Franklin, who's in the wheelchair, he's just like the most annoying character ever. He keeps kind of complaining and like picking his fingers with this knife. And then they see a hitchhiker.
Yeah,
and they decide to...
I just want to say Franklin looks like John Popper before John Popper lost the weight. It's been in my head.
Who's John Popper?
He's the lead singer for Blues Traveler.
Okay.
He looks like an obnoxious.
Right.
He looks like an obnoxious, fucking gross version of John Popper.
A less talented one, can't play the harmonica.
No harmonica.
Pretty much worthless.
Do you know how much his character would improve if he was playing a harmonica back there instead of picking his fucking nails? It's like a multiplier. I would have liked Franklin much more.
The funny thing is, as much as we hate on Franklin and as annoying as he is, he's like the only smart one. The whole time he's like, no, we should just stay here or get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
He's like the only one with a lick of common sense, basically.
Not enough. Not enough, dear Franklin.
So they see this fucked up looking hitchhiker on the side of the road, and they have the bright idea to pick him up. And then just immediately, the second this guy gets in the van, he's giving off real creep vibes.
He's talking about how his family worked at the slaughterhouse, going into like extremely gruesome detail.
And how they used to use sledgehammers, but now they use like the hydraulic machine or whatever, and it was better when they used the sledgehammers.
Yeah, like the one in No Country for Old Men.
Yes. Another great movie. And yeah, this guy's just real like, the acting is so good, but I would have been able to spot this crazy dude from like a mile away and been gone around.
He would have never been allowed into the vehicle.
Absolutely not.
Never in a
And he might have
years.
been hit if he tried to like stop me.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the guy looks insane.
Just like,
insane. He looks insane.
He looks totally insane. He snatches the knife from Franklin, and then he like cuts his own hand, which is really
laughing
creepy.
the whole time.
Yes, while laughing maniacally, always fun. Then he gives Franklin back the knife. Then he takes out a camera, and he like takes a picture of all of them, and then it's like a Polaroid. He burns the photo. And then at one point he takes out his own knife and he's like, I have a knife. It's a good knife. And then he just like lunges at Franklin, cuts his arm, jumps out of the van, runs away. It's a pretty awesome scene.
It is pretty awesome. So the lesson there is don't pick up hitchhikers. It's a bad idea.
Don't do it. I mean, well, I've done
a
good bit of hitchhiking, and I'm glad that people picked me up and I wasn't crazy, but...
That's true. I'm glad that you weren't crazy.
They might have just got me on a good day.
I'm sure they're glad that you weren't crazy. I've picked up hitchhikers too, but it's just not a good idea.
It's not a great practice.
No, don't do it. Especially, just don't do it. I was gonna say at nighttime, but you could get killed in the middle of the day too. They picked this guy up in the middle of the day.
Yep. I don't know if it's before or after this, but at one point Franklin's trying to pee in his wheelchair.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He's at the top of a hill and he just rolls down the hill and wipes out, which...
He has a piss can.
Yeah, he's trying to piss in the piss can. It's only because he's so annoying. It's...
I just feel like I would have had a different system than the piss can. Maybe you cut a little hole in the bottom of the seat.
Anyway, so they've kind of come to, I believe, the grandfather's old house. It's all decrepit and kind of condemned. And immediately they all just split up like a bunch of morons.
This is in extremely rural Texas, by the way.
Yes.
Just in case, you didn't have the deductive ability to take the title of the film and apply it to where it takes place. This is in super rural Texas, so flat, sandy.
Yep. And they immediately just kind of run off, leave Franklin. He can hear them laughing in the other rooms or upstairs or whatever, and he's getting all pissy. And he's making fun of them. It's one of the best scenes. Come on, Franklin, it'll be fun. And you just want him to die so much at that point.
Oh, they stopped at the gas station.
Oh yeah, the gas station.
Before they got to the house.
And that guy, the gas station had no gas. These people looked all fucked up. To their credit, though, to the guy at the gas station's credit, he did try to warn them. He said there's people don't like trespassers coming snooping around.
Well, so this is the proprietor. It will be this man's name.
The proprietor. He'll come back later.
He will.
But basically, he warned them. He said, get the hell out of here. You don't know what you're getting into.
So they, without being able to get any fuel, because the station was out of fuel, they head on to their homestead. And that's when they of course they'd start to split up like fucking idiots. They always do.
Gotta split up.
Never split up. It's such a bad idea.
They spend the rest of the movie trying to get back together. Pretty much. It wasn't a good move because they immediately one of the couples. So there's two couples, I guess. There's two guys who look like they might be worth something in a fight. They're not going to last that long, spoiler. No. Anyway, one of the couples, they're like, where's the swimming hole you told us about, Franklin? And it turns out it's down this path through the woods. They go down the path, they see a house, and their first thought, they're thinking, let's get the fuck out of here. They need gas. So they go knock on the door and try to get some gas. And I guess even this couple kind of splits up because only the guy goes in at first. And he kind of goes in, he's saying, hello, we just need some gas. And immediately, this is when you first see Leatherface. He just jumps out from behind this doorway and smashes him in the head with a sledgehammer.
So, yeah, Leatherface, as we mentioned earlier, is this extremely large mute man wearing a face made from human skin. He looks like he's about 6'8" and 320 pounds.
He's a giant.
He's a giant. And he bashes Mr. Handsome Kirk's freaking head in like a Gallagher melon.
Played by Gunnar Hansen, who apparently to make himself giant, he was wearing some 3-inch heels.
Oh, that's cheating.
I mean, he is truly giant in this.
So yeah, Leatherface clubs freaking Kirk's head in, and man, did he freaking twitch out, man?
Oh yeah, he was seasoned.
That's like one of the more kind of like not gory but graphic little bits of this is, bludgeoning something to death results in it, seizing out like that, and
Right.
that's a lot of this film is kind of like a pro-vegetarian film, or it's been like received as such. There's, the whole idea of humans being turned into livestock, or just like kind of forcing someone to tackle with a sentient being being eaten. But like for sure the twitching thing like had to come from the observing of a killing floor at a slaughterhouse back when they used to use a killing hammer to take care of it, as opposed to the pneumatic plunger that we so fortunately have now.
And I think we described it earlier, but Leatherface, he's wearing another person's face as a mask, presumably, and he's got a butcher's apron on, and clearly he is a butcher, and he's getting this human meat.
Yeah, so this, if you haven't put it together, the hitchhiker is part of this family. Because remember, he's talking about how his family used to work at the slaughterhouse, but they all got laid off.
Which they'd actually been driving this hitchhiker to his house, which is kind of how they got out there, I think. But maybe even. But so, of course, next the girlfriend, Pam, she has to go wander inside the house looking for her boyfriend.
Hold on. I was going to say something else on the vegetarian note. Guillermo del Toro. God, I said that so terrible.
Guillermo?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, Guillermo del Toro gave up meat after watching this. And additionally, I want to say that Toby Hooper has said that it's a film about meat. And there's a lot of imagery of like cattle and slaughtering and such. So anyways, that's just like my two little cents there. I'm not a vegetarian. I love meat. I just talked about how I love sausage. But, to the film's credit, it's got a neat little, virtuous end to it.
There you go.
Like the meat thing, I mean, it's about a family that...
It's about a slaughterhouse.
It's about a family that eats people.
Pretty badass.
It is pretty badass. Fucking... Oh, I mean, I love a good cannibal flick. I really do.
So next Pam goes in, and I think she kind of like wanders into this other weird room full of like, I think there's a human skull and some other meats laying around.
Yeah, furniture made from human bones.
Which is all shit that Ed Gein did. But, and I'm pretty sure in this scene, the way Leatherface gets this girl is he just like kind of sneaks up behind her and just like lifts her up and puts her on this giant meat hook.
No, she tries to run out and he fucking snags her, man. Like a rag doll. And then, yeah, he picks her up and places her on a meat hook, which is just like, that's always been such like a gnarly thing to me. It makes my like spine.
That hook goes right into her spine.
Yeah. Or ribs. I mean, it might go on left or right of the spine. Right. We don't know for sure. It looks
painful, to say the least.
Yeah, that's pretty gnarly. Oh.
So then we go back to, so those people are pretty much gone.
Oh, and while she's hanging on the meat hook, she has to watch this freaking giant monster man butcher her boyfriend with a chainsaw. Yeah.
Yes.
It's the first chainsaw action we get.
Hell yeah.
I love a chainsaw death, man.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Although this is not a chainsaw death. He's already been killed by being, hammered in the head with like a 4-pound hammer or whatever.
Yes, exactly. So then, of course, now one of the only capable looking people who might be able to like fight is gone. Now we get the other two people. What are their names? I'm trying to remember.
There's Sally.
Yes. Sally is Franklin's sister.
There's Franklin, the wheelchair dude, and then there's
okay. There's one more guy. He's
Jerry.
gonna go try
Jerry.
to find Pam and Kirk.
It's Jerry.
Yes. So he makes it up to the house. He gets inside.
He's
not seeing anyone around. Finds that same room that I believe Pam got killed in. And he hears a sound coming from this large freezer on the ground. And when he opens it up, freezer. She's still alive in there.
Yeah, she like sits up, and then, Leatherface gets to him.
I'm pretty sure Leatherface just hits him with a sledgehammer again.
Yeah, another sledgehammer death.
So now all that's left is Sally and Franklin, the brother and sister. And basically it's getting dark. They're back at the van. But I don't even think they have the keys or anything. I think Kirk had the keys. So they're kind of trying to decide what to do. Sally wants to go find them, but Franklin's just a little bitch constantly, even though, honestly, he was probably right in the end.
He was probably correct.
He was probably right.
Things would have turned out better for Franklin if they'd listened to Franklin.
But he was a giant pussy, and he didn't want to be left there alone, basically.
Yeah.
So they go, and they try to find the house. And I think, what happens at this part?
Franklin gets killed with the chainsaw.
Yes.
Yeah. There's the first actual chainsaw death is Franklin.
Yes. So as they're walking to the house, Leatherface just lunges out of the woods. Because they've been yelling out, Kirk, Pam, Jerry, like fucking idiots.
Yeah.
Letting everyone know where they are. Leatherface jumps out, fucking makes a quick work of Franklin.
Franklin never stood a chance.
He never stood a chance.
And he gets a pretty gnarly death. He gets chainsawed alive. We were discussing this, but I think I would rather be hit in the head with the sledgehammer than be ripped asunder by a chainsaw. Just me.
I just don't like the idea of myself seizing out on the floor like that.
Dude, you're gone at that point, man.
That's true. That's true. So Sally keeps running. She makes it up to the house. She goes upstairs, finds some mummified old people up there, which also going back to Ed Gein, can't remember. Did he keep his? I might be getting the real story mixed up with Psycho, but in Psycho he's got his mummified mom up there, right?
Yeah, I think he had his mummified mom in real life too.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Fun time. So basically, she runs to them asking for help and then quickly realizes they're either dead or they're just emaciated to the point where they're just skeletons.
Yeah, they're just, they're like husk people.
She jumps out the window because Leatherface is chasing her. She runs back to the gas station with the proprietor who we talked about earlier, who genuinely looks pretty nice. He kind of comes off as like a Andy Griffith type character almost.
I was about to just say that. Yeah.
Or like a Barney Fife or something. But
yeah, more Barney than Andy. But sure. Something out of Mayberry, just about.
Just about. But, as with most... I feel like most Mayberries in real life have kind of that other dark underbelly, if you look close enough, too.
Cough, cough, Blue Velvet by David Lynch. Cough, cough.
There you go. So, like that, of course, he's going to be evil, too. He pretends he's going to help her and kind of lets her into the building. But she quickly realizes, oh, no, he's not going to help her. He ties her up. He keeps hitting her with this broom.
Yeah, just smacks her into submission with a broom.
That's handle. How he gets her. He hits her with the broom. And not like the handle either. I'm pretty sure he hits her with the bristles. Yeah,
to be clear, this is not like a knockout and he, binds her. He just sits there and, flails on her with a broom handle.
Annoys her with a broom.
Until she collapses from exhaustion. Yeah, I mean... It's just like, I can't keep this game up anymore.
Yeah, so he gets her, he ties her up, gags her, throws her in the truck. Then, of course, now he's taking her back to the house. Actually, the hitchhiker comes in, find out that hitchhiker's Leatherface's brother. Now, the next thing you know, she wakes up, she's bound and gagged at a giant dinner table with the whole Texas Chainsaw Massacre family, including Grandpa, who was the mummified dude who was upstairs.
Yeah, they all play kind of like a trope from like the American ideal of a family or the sitcom family. You know, you've got the proprietor in like the father-like role. The hitchhiker is kind of like the rebellious teenager. And then Leatherface is dressed in women's clothing.
Yes, and has a woman's face on. Clearly a woman's face with makeup on now. So that's kind of fun.
It is. So, but yeah, it's kind of like parodying the American household or the American sitcom household.
Apparently filming this scene, which is kind of like the big climactic scene, was just the worst thing ever. It was like 115 degrees. Took 26 hours to film. They actually just had rotting meat and dead animals everywhere. Because, of course, this film was made on a really small budget. So, most of the dead animals and stuff you see, that's all real. It's not just props. Many of the actors hadn't washed or changed their clothes in over a month. So it just smelled awful.
That's disgusting.
And like by that point, everyone was actually like halfway insane.
Why
as they're filming it?
Why had they not bathed in that long?
Because the budget was so low that they couldn't afford to like wash the blood stains and stuff out of the clothes. It was partially about continuity.
But they took showers, right?
They took showers, but like Leatherface's blood-stained clothing is the same, and he wore that the entire. And apparently he smelled so bad no one wanted to stand next to him.
I'm sure.
And another fun fact is most of the actors, pretty much all of the actors, they didn't see Leatherface in costume or know what he looked like until they filmed their scene with him, which usually their first scene is the last with Leatherface. So it was actually true terror in their performance.
That's fun. That's a good little trick right there.
Yes, in fact the production of this film, just while we're on the subject, was just a nightmare. Basically every single actor on set got hurt in one way or another. All the shit they did was real. It was all in over 100-degree Texas heat. Smelled terrible. And basically every single one of them was pissed off and had a horrible experience by the time it was over. And then only like years later did they kind of get over it and realize that it was actually the performance and opportunity of their entire career for many of them. Made a whole career off of it, you know. Many of them wrote books and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
All about the making of it.
Rode that cash cow.
They're in this awful dinner scene. And basically, they're now telling her that Grandpa's going to kill her and eat her, and they want Grandpa to be able to kill this one.
Yeah, because he used to be the best slaughterer in the slaughterhouse once upon a time.
Oh, this part's fucked up. So Grandpa, he just looks like he's totally a mummy. They cut Sally's finger, and then they like pull her finger towards Grandpa's mouth, and he opens his mouth and sucks the blood off her finger.
Like a teat. Which
is terrifying. And a fun trivia fact about this is they actually cut her finger, and Grandpa actually sucked the blood out of her real finger.
Ugh.
Because the prop they were using like wasn't working, and eventually they just cut her finger and he sucked the blood out of it.
Ugh.
Just terrifying. I know. Another example of like how low budget this movie was. They were actually like doing a lot of this shit.
This was also before AIDS.
Yes, it was before AIDS.
It was.
And actually, in several of the scenes, they were using a real chainsaw, like within inches of an actor's face.
That's absurd.
It is. It really, really is.
It's a miracle that there wasn't some horrific accident.
It really is. I mean, all the accidents seem to be. As I said, every single actor had at least one on set, but pretty minor overall, I guess.
Yeah, nobody had their face ripped up by a chainsaw.
But this part's terrifying because they proceed to put a hammer in Grandpa's hand. And again, he's like mummified. He's not really moving.
He's too old and limp dick to do it.
But they want him to get to kill her. But the hammer just keeps falling out of his hand, which I don't know why that's like a haunting image for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty creepy. He just drags it on, you know.
So basically, during all of this, she kind of breaks free, finds her chance to escape, runs outside. Of course, Leatherface is going to chase her through the woods. Again, another real effect kind of thing that happened for this is they were actually running through the woods at night, and so all that blood on her is basically real. She got scratched up by all the branches. She kind of sees a truck driver who's just a giant fat guy who looks like he's not going to be worth a damn in the fight, really.
Of course.
And immediately, of course, you know, the truck is their only kind of advantage. Immediately, he just gets out of the truck.
Well, he hits the hitchhiker first, right?
Does he hit it? Does he hit the hitchhiker? Oh, yeah. Yeah, he absolutely does. Yep.
Yeah.
So then, of course...
So one of them's taken out by the truck, which is like death by truck is sweet. It's also pretty Texas. You know, they have cow plows on trucks out there, you know, so it's like if you hit a fucking truck that's wandered into the road, you don't like destroy your truck. You just turn it into hamburger meat.
Yes.
The cow, that is.
The driver, he's kind of worth the damn, because he does end up getting out of the truck, and Leatherface is attacking the truck with the chainsaw. He does manage to hit Leatherface with a big pipe.
Pipe wrench.
Pipe wrench.
Yeah, and it's like the Bioshock wrench.
Yep, okay.
Yep, that's a pipe wrench.
So Leatherface goes down, the chainsaw goes into his leg. The driver gets the hell out of there. Sally manages to jump in the back of another pickup truck that's passing. And then I love the final scene where it's Leatherface like basically dancing.
Yeah, dancing with his chainsaw and his expressing his anger and his rage against the world and his sadness for
It very much looks like an interpretive dance expressing all of those things you just described, and it's a nice touch.
Yeah, dancing with a chainsaw is a bad idea. You shouldn't do it.
No.
Want a big safety kick today.
Apparently, Leatherface, he wrote a book called Texas Chainsaw Confessional. He claims that he received $47.50 for his performance in this film. His payment was $47.50.
That's horribly low.
That is horribly low. In the beginning, there's a voiceover from a guy who like introduces the film and says it was based on a true story or whatever. Mm-hmm. Apparently, he was paid with a joint of marijuana. So that's how low budget we're talking here.
$48. I mean, even in like 1974 money, that's comically low for.
I mean, at that point, he must have been doing it because he loved it and thought it was going to be awesome, I would imagine.
Yeah, very, very likely.
But, yeah.
I'm going to Hollywood.
Exactly. I mean, the movie was made for $100,000. I think to date it's brought in over $30 million. So, I mean, super successful.
And honestly, I like the sequels. I like the remake. The remake's fun.
I like the world. I just like the world that has been created by it because I feel like that actually does exist out there. I mean, we know it exists.
I like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning, as far as like the remakes go. The one with what's his freaking name? The drill sergeant in Full Metal Jacket, R. Lee Ermey.
Okay.
Yeah, he plays the proprietor in that one, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning.
Don't know if I've seen that one.
Oh,
I've seen a lot of them, but
that one's a lot of fun, man. It's got some of the better deaths.
Hell yeah. I find Leatherface truly terrifying. I think people exist out there like this. You know, obviously Ed Gein was, even though he wasn't as violent as these people, it's just some fucked up shit goes on out there in the backwoods.
Yeah, and that's like part of the horror, right? Is this is happening like in the American home. Like it could be, you know, next to your grandparents' house. It could be down the street from you.
And I think that's part of like what makes this film so influential and kind of revolutionary. Again, along with Last House on the Left and maybe Alfred Hitchcock, like the monsters and the terror is very human, and it's I would say this film, even though it's a little far-fetched, maybe, there's like a realism element that was lacking in a lot of films of that time, in my opinion.
Well, there's nothing supernatural at all about the film, right? Like, at no point is there a ghost, or like with the case of Michael Myers, like he gets shot like a shit ton of times in the chest and he falls out a window and he's still okay.
Right.
Or like with Jason, even in the original Friday the 13th, into the movie is a little disfigured boy that pops out of the water at the end, and then for every other movie, he's an unstoppable 6'8" juggernaut with a fucking machete that you could like shoot in the chest with an RPG, and he just keeps coming. Like, Leatherface is just a human,
Right.
It's
and
just,
even the protagonists don't even do anything that's, that far-fetched.
no.
Like, they're all incredibly human.
Well, it's like, Leatherface could be killed, right? It's just they're all ill-equipped for it. And they all just kind of also just stumble into a bad situation. And, like, that could happen to anybody, right? Like, fighting a 6'10", child monster thing from the lake that's unkillable. That's like pretty far-fetched, right? But like stumbling upon a family of, cannibals in like the forgotten parts of America and getting butchered by them, just like with shit laying around the house, that's terrifying and real and like in some way possible.
Yes, and if they think you're trespassing on their property, and it's going back to, it's interesting they mentioned True Detective earlier, because I feel like this had a lot of influence on the family at the end of that movie, or TV show, I should say.
Well, I guess like the main difference is the family in that is like at least in part connected, right? Like these guys are just truly the forgotten part of America.
Yeah.
And there's like some like Luddite undertones to the film, right? Like this family was made obsolete because machinery came along that killed better than them. It's like the John Henry situation,
Absolutely. The forgotten people who, have no way to make money.
Who don't adapt with the changing times.
I was watching this YouTube series. I believe it's called Soft White Underbelly. Have you ever heard of this?
I have not.
It's like basically kind of a gonzo journalism thing, and this guy goes to West Virginia and like goes and finds these family of inbred people, and like they're so inbred, like one guy just like barks like a dog and they can't even really talk or anything. It's terrifying. You should check that out.
That's wild, dude.
It's a perfect example of like, this shit is real. It's totally real. I mean, I don't want to... Now, we shouldn't stereotype these kind of people and say they're all violent or malicious, because that's absolutely not the case. But I mean, I'm sure some are.
Without a doubt, some. But like, even just in your neighborhood, there could be a batch of crazy living in a house.
Oh, there always is. Like, just go to like the sex offender website and you'll be shocked at like what kind of creepy people live in your own neighborhood.
Oh, I'm sure. I would hate to know. I don't have any kids.
I don't really recommend it.
I don't have kids, so I don't have to worry about it. But like, ugh.
It's not a nice thought, though.
It's not a nice thought.
Well, that's kind of a short one for you guys today, but it's the Halloween bonus episode, okay? So I don't want to hear any complaints.
I mean, it's not that long of a movie either. Like, we've almost been talking as long as that movie runs.
True. And the plot is fairly straightforward. Teenager hippies go in, and they all die except for one.
Except for the final girl, and she makes it out. Barely.
Exactly.
After, she is, like, tortured, like, psychologically. That is, like, the bulk of the film, is her just being, like, fucked with.
Everyone else dies pretty quickly.
Yeah. So some people have, said this is misogyny in film form or whatever. And like, I would say exploitative to some extent.
Sort of, but I mean, the girl's the only one who kind of triumphs in the end, or at least gets away. So, I mean, doesn't that not make her a little stronger than the male characters?
I think that she's a very strong character, and I think that, like, that, that's just horror for you, man. People are gonna freaking die. The film has received some criticism that it's unfair, but it's just also it just reads like people trying to drum up criticism, right? Like they're paid to find criticism.
Well, it's a popular clickbait kind of tactic is, let's criticize this thing that everyone loves.
It is true.
And then you're like, hey, wait, why are they talking shit about this thing I love? And then you click on it to find out what the quote-unquote other people are saying, even though maybe there is no demographic that really shares this opinion.
Indiana Jones pre-programs America's young men to be misogynists or patriarchs or whatever. I don't know, man.
All of that, yeah.
All of that and the above. Fuck, if they come after Indiana Jones, I don't know what I'm going to do. I love Indiana Jones. Such like a near and dear part of my childhood.
Well, I mean, films, they're not always necessarily meant to depict reality. Maybe it is some kind of macho man fantasy or whatever in the case of Indiana Jones,
It's just
do we need to pick that apart and scrutinize it? And
it's just a fun movie about the world's most dangerous archaeologist.
Yeah, I took an archaeology class, quickly learned that it has nothing to do with being Indiana Jones.
No,
in fact, most
very
of
little.
It is about picking through tiny grains of charcoal fragments. And seemed like that was about all it was to me.
Sounds fun. Sounds riveting.
Yeah. But if you carry a gun and a whip, maybe you can make it fun.
Yeah, I'm sure all your PhD colleagues are going to love your open carry choice of a bullwhip and
your fedora.
In 1911 or whatever.
Then you're just complaining about why no girls want to date nice guys.
I don't think if I've ever told you this, but my roommate freshman year of college had an Indiana Jones brand hat and jacket that he wore everywhere in tandem together. It was interesting style choice for a 19-year-old man.
I like it. I think it's fun.
It was expensive. I know that.
And did it give him the social currency he so desperately required?
That he was willing to spend that kind of money for? I don't think so. I don't think it did.
Rarely does. It rarely does.
Certainly,
all right.
Certainly if you're buying clothing based on a movie franchise, like maybe temper that.
Unless it's Kurt Russell's hat from The Shining.
Oh, or you mean The Thing? The
Thing, of course.
Yeah,
The Shining.
You know how much that hat cost, dude? That's like a $400 hat.
Do you think it will make people? Do you think they'll think you're cool?
Here, I'm gonna look it up right now. Let me see what it costs.
Also, one more trivia nugget I want to throw out before we finish the episode. This film inspired Alien. It was kind of the basis of the idea for Alien. Ridley Scott said, I want to make Texas Chainsaw Massacre in space. Which is a common theme. We often get movies that are just another movie, but in space.
I'm trying to find this. I'm pretty sure Stetson makes the Kurt Russell hat.
I forget what you had. It had a name and everything that you
It's called
shared
the mutagen, I think.
The mutagen.
I think it is, dude. I can't find this damn hat to save my life. But anyways, folks, thanks for joining with us and listening to our ramblings about novelty hats.
Yep, that's gonna be our spin-off show.
Oh my god,
hats.
Dude, I found it.
How much is the stupid hat?
Do you want to take a guess? It's Baron. It's not Stetson that makes it. It's Baron.
I was gonna guess $450.
Oh no, my friend. $1,550.
Damn. Well, I would have to imagine that's more expensive than the Indiana Jones hat.
I would have to hope this would get me laid more for $1,500. Holy shit.
I mean, I think that's the fatal error of many nerds.
If I spend enough money, I'll get pussy. Oh, man. Well, anyways, folks, thanks for sticking with us on this one. It's been a fun, spooky season. As always, if you got something you want us to do, send us an email. And by do, I mean like an episode, not, your kid's birthday party or whatever.
If someone's hiring us for a kid's birthday party,
I mean, work's work. Work is work,
they might need a social worker to go to their house.
They probably do. I mean, who knows? Maybe their kid's like 15 and thinks our podcast is great. I don't know.
I mean, that's kind of the age I saw many of these movies.
Yeah.
For the first time. So, I mean...
I think at age... Once you can drive yourself, you should be allowed to see a rated R movie. That's my opinion.
I get it. Exactly. Unless you're Adam Lanza or some shit.
That's fair.
What you never know who it's gonna be. Look around at your classmates. Who is it? Just like The Thing. All right, let's get off of this.
Yeah, it's time. All right, thanks, everybody. Bye.